Duke, Huey Jensen. We're going to start off by watching Huey Jensen. Let's head down for round number 13 here from Barcelona. Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Barcelona. Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Randy Buehler. We're going to start things off here in round number 13 with two players at 11-1. William Huey Jensen, currently 22nd on the top 25 pro rankings, against Francisco Rubio, also sitting.
Francisco Rubio has 0 lifetime GP Pro Tour top 8s, 0 current pro points. Not qualified for the Pro Tour next weekend. It's just the Grand Prix came to town.
All right.
So he's kind of defending the home turf.
He is indeed, and facing down William Huey Jensen, who kicks things off with a couple of artifacts here. He's got a skeleton key and a Thraben gargoyle. Not a superior combo.
True.
And
Huey's got 2 skeleton keys in this deck, along with a pair of sanitarium skeletons, presumably planning to discard them.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, he's going to go ahead and equip up the key anyway, even though...
Eventually.
We'll go ahead and have Francisco switch the old lands in front there, since he's on camera. And that's a rule these days.
It is.
His unruly mob is attacking. Gargoyle's going to just snap block here. Show me a combat trick of some sort. Uh-oh. That's it? He's going to need more than that.
It's a trade.
You take 1 damage, but he's going to lose his unruly mob here, right? It's just +2/+1 and trample.
Looks right to me.
Wow, that's a tough one. I got to think, Randy, that I don't think Francisco realized he was going to lose his mob there.
Agreed.
There's just no way you'd make that trade if he just 2-for-1 himself to get rid of the creature that was doing effectively nothing. So a bit of a gift there for Huey. He's going to have to see if he can capitalize on it. I know that he's not happy with how his
you were
draft
telling
went.
me about that.
Yeah, I chatted. I had a quick chat with Huey before he went into the feature match area. Just grabbed him and said, "How do you feel about your deck?" And he said, "Not very good." He wasn't really happy with the way that the draft portion went. And he said, "Look, I've got some cards that can win me the game."
Mm-hmm.
But as the draft was coming together, he just never felt like his deck was really coming together, and so he's not super happy with it. He's going to play a Mad Prophet, no attacks here, indicating that he's going to get his rummage on, as we say. And we'll see if Francisco can recover. I mean, that could be a very costly mistake in the early part of the match here, and you don't want to give Huey Jensen anything. And now he's just going to play Estencia Masquerade and pass the turn. This is not looking good for Francisco here. Indulgent Aristocrat's going to hit the graveyard for Jensen off of the Mad Prophet. Again, both players at 11-1. What's the forecast for making top 8 from this? They've got 3 rounds of this draft to play.
13-2 gets you into the tiebreaker scrum.
Okay.
There are going to be a lot of players at 13-2. I was looking at the standings, and the 10-2s, that is the players who can 3-0 to get to 13-2, go down into the 50s.
Oh, jeez.
So there's 7 pods that can potentially have, the 3-0 winner of the pod sitting on 13-2, crossing his fingers, listening to the top 8 announcement. Now, the thing is, though, those the pods are all sorted by tiebreakers right now, so guys coming off the top tables are more likely to get in, just because they currently have better tiebreakers.
So Huey just fired off a Macabre Waltz there to get back both creatures. One was dead from combat, one was dead from discard, and even played them both as well, since they both happen to cost 1 mana, so a pretty productive turn there. Francisco, okay, now he's got something going. He's got Gastaff, Arsonist, and in combination with the Stensia Masquerade. That could be a problem for Huey, as he's just never really going to have great blocks on. He's going to have to find a way to either get a bunch of damage into Francisco or just kill the Gatstaff Arsonist here. So Huey's going to start by looting away his own Gatstaff Arsonist, which brings him to 5 mana, and he's going to throttle the Arsonist right away. The completely tapped out Rubio just has to let it go. Nothing much he can do here. And the good news for Rubio, though, is that he's only taking 1 here.
Yeah.
It's not like Huey's assembled some massive board, though. He is 1 mana away from getting that Thraben Gargoyle up in the sky, and that actually is a pretty quick clock. Let's see if Rubio has another big creature he can cast here and help get himself back on board. One card left in hand for Jensen. Rubio checks with him. Angelic Purge is what he's going to play. He's going to get rid of the Thraben Gargoyle now just to make sure that Huey doesn't go land, send it to the skies. He's going to sacrifice, interestingly, one of his plains, leaving himself with 4 mountains and a plains. Huey might take away a little bit of information from that. In the meantime, the Indulgent Aristocrat's going to pick up a Skeleton Key. Oh. There will be a response.
Dual shot?
Dual shot. So he's going to just kill the Indulgent Aristocrat. He will do 1 to the Mad Prophet, though. That won't actually kill it. So main deck dual shot from Francisco is going to be something that Huey's certainly going to take note of when it comes to sideboarding after this game. The Aristocrat's only okay in his deck. You may be wondering if he has to call the Bloodline, since that's a really nice combo that's emerged early in the format. He does not.
There were quite a few of those floating around the table.
He actually tried to wheel 1.
Oh, and it didn't work?
And it didn't come back.
Interesting. Aha! Sacrifice the Mad Prophet to keep the Aristocrat alive.
Nice play there from Jensen. He'd rather have the Aristocrat with the key on it than the Mad Prophet with only 1 card left in his hand. And he even gets to gain a couple of life here. Remember, the Skeleton Key lets him loot whenever he hits as well. It gives his creature Skulk too. There, I think they're just confirming life totals are correct here. Draw a card. And he's got to discard a swamp here. Pass the turn back. So while Huey, has been nicely in the driver's seat for most of this game here, he still just doesn't have that much pressure, right?
Yep.
It's just not a big finisher, and it's not going to take a ton for Rubio to be able to swing this back in the other direction, though Dauntless Cathar probably not going to be good enough. It also can't block here, as the Aristocrat has Skulk. And it's only a 2-2. And Jensen gently reminding Francisco that no, you may not block. So Huey's going to trigger his Skeleton Key again. Finds I believe a Geese's Bidding there, which looks pretty good here. That is a type of card that can get the job done pretty quickly. All right, well, he's found one of his rares here, has Huey.
Is that the Dread Knight?
Yeah. And that is a Markov Dread Knight that can get the job done fairly quickly, especially if he wants to activate the ability and get it up to a 5/5. In the meantime, Huey quite happily falls down to 21 here. He doesn't mind this attack at all. He just doesn't want to see something like Plains descend upon the Sinful or something along those lines. Okay, attack with both of these. This would be 5 damage. And Huey's just, yeah, sure. Take 5, drop down to 8. And then Huey can use his Skeleton Key here to keep churning through his library. And this is going to be Geese's Bidding, or excuse me, Twins of Maurer Estate. that he's going to use on Madness. So
Sure.
pretty gross there. It also gives him lethal on the board. Maybe that's an Ever After in Huey's hand. I think he has one of those as well.
Definitely drafted one.
Yeah, must be it. The Twins are, in fact, going to block the Dauntless Cathar here. And that's going to prompt another combat trick here from Francisco. And this one's actually going to work the way he wants it to. Combination with First Strike.
No, it's not.
Well, it did get to kill a creature. How about that? Will you
Not the one he
settle for
wanted to
that?
kill.
That's true. So he's going to put a +1/+1 counter on both of his remaining creatures since they're both vampires by sacrificing the Indulgent Aristocrat. And yes, Francisco does not get to kill the one that he wanted to kill, and he is going to lose his creature in the transaction too. Wow. That's a blowout.
Yeah.
And there have been many in this short match so far, and all of them have gone towards Huey.
Guessing he's got a little bit more experience in the feature match area under the camera than Francisco Rubio.
For sure.
Rubio's still in good shape, even if he does lose this. I mean, it's only game one. And at 11-1, these guys both have a loss to give.
Huey's going to equip up the key to the Twins and attack. This is lethal, so it's going to prompt a chump block here from Francisco. Okay, pass the turn back. He double chumped there, so he's still facing lethal. This has to be a pretty good one, and it's not. Falconwrath Gorge there for Francisco. And Huey's just going to move all in here. He's going to put another couple of counters on his Dread Knight, and that means that he can do it again here and just attack for the win. And discard another card. It was Geese's bidding, though. He just threw it in the graveyard because he knew it was lethal anyway, and that does it. So William Huey Jensen picks up the first game against Francisco Rubio here in round number 13. And Rubio's going to have to come up with a more clean draw here, right? I mean, we saw this dancing. Like, we saw some pieces of what his deck could do, but he's going to have a better performance out of his list here if he's going to get by the Hall of Famer this time. Okay, so let's jump over to our side table.
Which match is this?
And see who we've got battling.
It's Ferran Villa, our 12-0 player. Lone 12-0 player, last remaining undefeated in the field.
Victor Kazanski's here as well.
Wow, Ferran's already taken a game, too.
Oh, wow, that was quick.
He pretty much clinches top 8 with a win here. At 13-0, even if he goes loss, it's hard to imagine him losing a tiebreaker scrum at 13-2. So we could have our first top 8 player if Ferran can come up with a second game win here.
Looks like Victor's is taking the fight to him, though. He's got Ferran down to 5. Yeah, looks like Ferran still thinks the race is in his favor. He's going to attack in there for 4 damage, bringing Victor's down to 8. And he's going to need to clear up the board a little bit here. He's going to go for Angelic Purge. He could sacrifice the Clue, but he's actually just going to get rid of one of his lands here. That's going to get rid of the Blood Mad Vampire, which is the biggest threat on the battlefield for victors. Does Ferran have another way to interact here? No. Well, maybe. He's just passed the turn back. Leaving the Voldaren Duelist ready to rumble. He is going to go ahead and attack with it. This is certainly what... oh, he has aim high. Okay, I don't think that's exactly what Victor thought he might be. I think he was thinking about puncturing light there. But aim high is also quite good. Oh, is this Geist Blast?
Jeez.
Wow, just a straight up 2-for-1 here. Oh, and he's also got the pump spell to hit it for exactly 5. Wow.
Huh.
Wow, that was a flurry at the end of that game, so that's going to put us into game 3
on to game
here.
3.
Holy smokes. Now, what if Ferran goes 0-3 in the draft?
Then
he's just out.
Yeah, 3 pro points and some money.
I don't think that's going to happen, but, you know, when you're sitting there at 12-0,
right.
You know, you got to be wondering, like, when is
Look, somebody's going to 0-3 this pod.
Yeah.
Somebody 0-3s pretty much every pod.
But, yeah, Ferran looked like he has a good deck, and he's clearly putting it together this weekend, so I would not be surprised to see him in the top 8. Doesn't need much to go well for him there. So Huey finds himself up again against Francisco Rubio, looking to close this thing out, win one of the next 2, put himself at 12-1.
Yep. And then he gets a pair of winning ends.
And then he gets a pair of winning ends. Now, Francisco Rubio, same situation except for that he's the one who's down a game to the Hall of Famer here and has a tall order. I mean, this is tough, you know. And
Huey's deck doesn't look great, though.
It does not
You said
look
he
great.
was not happy with it going in. It didn't come out amazingly last game. I don't know. I feel like both of these guys are probably happy with the pairing, honestly, from a deck point of view.
both players obviously good sportsmen. A little handshake before the game. Nice clean fight here, gentlemen. All right, so Francisco's kept, but Huey has not. So Jensen's going to go back into shuffle mode here as he looks for something a little better. All right, let's see if Huey's got a 6 that he can keep. And he has kept. He's going to resolve his scry, and he's even going to keep that on top as well. Francisco's on the play this game. Francisco, a lands in front player, has to rein it back in for us. We do appreciate that, though, Francisco. It just makes the viewing experience a little cleaner for people at home that aren't quite as used to watching Magic. It can be a little confusing. Yeah, it's an unruly mob to kick things off just like it was in the first game. No plays for Jensen as of yet. It's like Gaia Reach Bandit maybe? Yeah, and that has haste, so boom. 4. Much better start here for Rubio. Right away putting the pressure on Jensen to do something. He does. He's going to play a Farbog Revenant, which is going to do a good job of keeping the unruly mob back, probably. The Bandit's going to get to hit again. Also, any number of combat tricks can make an attack good here either way.
What card is that?
Where? Oh, that's Hope Against Hope. So that's going to give his creature +1/+1 for each creature he controls. And if it's a human, it also gets first strike, and it is a human. So he's hitting for 5 damage here and dropping Jensen down to 11. And Huey's going to need to find a removal spell pretty quickly here. If he does, he could be in pretty decent shape. But if he doesn't, that bandage is going to run him over. Okay, well, the Revenant's going to attack for starters. Take it. 19-12. Diagraph Colossus. And he's also going to play out a Sanitarium Skeleton, which, you know, it can block, right? I mean, you could just keep looping it on blocks here if he just needs to buy time. It's not mana efficient, and it's not a way to get ahead in the late part of the game, but it is a way to not die.
It's a very expensive Drudge Skeleton, but it can impersonate
Yes,
Drudge Skeleton.
It can indeed.
Seems like a plan.
Okay, he's just going to chump block. And take no damage for the turn, so not too bad. Dauntless Cathar was the play there for Francisco Rubio. Land off the top for Jensen. Pretty sure he's got a Twins of Mauer estate in his hand. That also cannot effectively block the now 6-powered first striker. Huey's going to take a quick look at the other side. As he continues to plan out his turn here. Well, the Revenant can still get in there cleanly. The only option is a chump block with the Unruly Mob, which doesn't seem to be an option here, so Jensen's going to attack, play a land, and he's just going to play the Twins of Mauer estate and pass the turn back. So Huey continues to play a card each turn. He's not let that Gyre Reach Bandit get transformed. Sanguinary Mage, yes. And he's got a Militant Inquisitor as well. So now this thing's getting +5/+5.
It's big.
First strike as well, so 8 power. And he may encourage Jensen to make a block here, in fact. Huey also could take it. He's at 13. He does have a little bit of wiggle room. Yeah, he's just going to take it. So he's going to drop down to 5 life here as Jensen. This Hope Against Hope has done real work for Francisco, enabling multiple attacks that he may not have had. It's high risk, high reward, those type of spells, because if Huey can find an answer to it, then Francisco does not look like he's in much of a good board state here, and it's a 2-for-1 in Huey's favor. But if he can't, then that thing could easily carry Francisco into Game 3. And it looks like Huey's just going to pass the turn, which actually is going to transform the werewolf into Wildenpack Alpha, which is a 4/3, so it does get one bigger. It also has the ability that whenever a werewolf enters the battlefield on Francisco's side, he can transform it, which doesn't seem super relevant here, but you never know what he might draw. And here we go. Francisco's attacking with everything. The big Alpha Strike is now incoming. Huey says, yeah, can you just bring those up? I want to try to figure out exactly how I want to make my blocks here. Big Alpha Strike here from Francisco. We know that the Wildenpack Alpha has to be blocked. It's lethal on its own. But then Huey does have some wiggle room as far as how he wants to block the other creatures. Francisco's taking the opportunity to read his own card here. Make sure he knows exactly what's going on. One card in hand from Francisco. The card, that Huey's going to be thinking about is he saw the combat trick from him. 2 copies of it in the first game.
All right, here's some blocks. You got to figure Huey's got something to spend his mana on since he didn't get the skeleton back.
No rush of adrenaline here for Francisco, which means that Huey does get to survive the turn here.
Yeah.
Now, his problems aren't
right?
over, but yeah, that did not work out super poorly for Huey there, all told. That said, he's still way behind.
Killed 2 creatures, only lost one of his own. Although now there's a spirit against him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like the attack from Francisco in the sense that he is now still well set up to try to win this game. Is this Geist Blast? It is Geist Blast from Jensen. That's going to get rid of the flyer. And give himself a chance to survive. Again, he just needs to find a removal spell for the Wildenpack Alpha, and he can't. Looks like Huey just got up.
Question for the judge?
Probably a question for the judge. Either that or he's just so frustrated he couldn't find the removal spell. No, that's not Huey's style. He's a pretty laid-back guy. All right.
Hope against hope, huh?
Yeah, hope against hope has really carried this this game for Francisco. Again, high risk, high reward, right? If Huey had untapped and just immediately killed the creature, we would be saying how it was really hard for Francisco to recover from it. But since that's not what happened, Francisco will be able to ride this to a lot of profitable attacks. So Jensen's going to go ahead and attack, bump his life total up to 4, and Francisco down to 17. This better be a big one. Okay, he's got Macabre Waltz. And he's going to play Geese's Bidding here, and he can even play the Skeleton after that as well, which is a really nice little chump blocker. Wow. Yeah, I mean, look, the word stable comes to mind here. Huey still hasn't solved his main issue, but he is not slated to take any damage next turn at all, and is in fact pretty stable on board thanks to the Sanitarium Skeleton that can just keep blocking this huge attacker. The other creatures can't attack profitably into Huey's port. So Francisco's going to have to find something to get in this last 4 points of damage, or else Huey can just sit here and keep blocking over and over. Oh, Spiteful Motives out the top for Francisco. That's interesting. That is going to actually give him good attacks here. Huey was really hoping that Francisco did not find something like that. Now Francisco's just going to turn his team sideways. Everything must be blocked here or else Huey dies. And even the things that Huey does block are going to die on his end. He was deep in the tank again. This has been a very pensive game. Both players really kind of thinking through these combat steps, even though it's been a bit of a slugfest, just back and forth, attack with everything, attack, attack, attack. Now Huey goes back into the tank again. Again, Rush of Adrenaline, I think, will be the card that's at the forefront of his thoughts. But there's, of course, all the other combat tricks and everything else that can happen here. And Huey's just putting it in the old blender here, trying to figure out what can I play around, what can I not, what beats me anyway. What if it's this, what if it's this? You know, he's got to figure, since there wasn't an attack like this last time, something was drawn by Rubio. So how can Huey best leverage his resources here to play around the maximum things, but also give himself the maximum chance to win?
Does block everything.
Yeah, he's going to double block one, and then interestingly puts the Twins of Mauer Estate right there on the Bandit. If everything went well here, then that would end up trading off because the other creatures would die, which would then shrink down the Bandit, and it would have taken 3 damage, which is enough to kill it.
Sure.
But everything has to go right here for Huey in order for that to happen.
That does not count as everything going right.
No, it does not. And in fact, probably counts as the opposite. And it looks like we're probably going to get a game 3 unless there's something absolutely insane here for Jensen.
Speaking of game 3s, by the way, we saw that Ferran Villa was headed to 1 against Victor Kazankis.
Ferran being our only undefeated player, 12-0.
He was our last undefeated player, but Kazanskis wins.
Okay. So Huey attacks, brings himself up to 4, and he's got some plays here. He's going to bring back a skeleton, play a skeleton, pass a turn. This does actually leave him alive, but he's got 2 must-chump block creatures. Actually, no. I take that back. No, yeah, they are both must-chump block creatures. Pardon me. They both have 5 power at least. Leaving the Sanguinary Mage able to hit. Okay, Halpak Wolf there for Rubio. This is going to get Rubio in for a damage. As Huey goes block. Take 1. Fall back down to 4. And it's hard to imagine that Huey can get himself out of this mess. And he cannot. So we're going to see a game 3 here between William Huey Jensen and Francisco Rubio. That one went much more according to plan. And again, really came down to hope against hope. Not a card that, you know, is real high on a lot of people's radar, but you know what? It does pack a big punch, and it packs it right now. You play that card, if you've got any type of board state at all, and all of a sudden you're attacking a lot harder than you might think.
Very true.
I think the players were asking about the time in the round there.
Sure.
We've got a little under 12 minutes left on our main match, though the players in the feature match will often get a couple of minute extension just for the fact that we have to get them over there, get them seated, wait for us to start the stream. It usually only takes an extra minute or 2, but they're probably somewhere in the 13 to 15 minute range.
So I've been eagerly trying to get an update on Reed Duke's match.
Yeah.
Game 1 just ended.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Which is good for Reed Duke. Is that blue
Yes.
black deck that he drafted?
That
if,
is.
if they're going to play a
makes it
30
very likely that he's the one that won that game.
and he was.
And he was. Okay.
35-minute game 1. Reed is paired against Denny Weinhardt. The last match of this pod 1 is Fabrizio Anteri versus Mauricio Carvalho. You see them playing off to the side. You see Anteri's back on the right of your screen.
You can tell because it has his name on it.
I mean, I'm guessing Marcio doesn't have an Anteri shirt.
I'd wear one. Looks cool.
You could do a lot worse.
Okay, so Huey's going to be on the play here for Game 3 as the players take a handshake and move on to Game 3 action. This is a huge game for both of these players when it comes to their top 8 hopes. Now, it doesn't necessarily knock them out with a loss.
Right.
But it puts them very close with the win. So the winner of this match is going to be tantalizingly close to a top 8 finish here in Barcelona. The loser might be out, but probably still alive. Sanitarium Skeleton on turn 1 for Jensen. No turn 1 play for Rubio. Not a big surprise there, though. And the Skeleton's going to jam for 1 point of damage before passing back to Rubio. Let's see if he's got 2 mana play. An Unruly Mob. He's made the same play on turn 2 all 3 games. Skeleton rumbles. And there's a Diagraph Colossus. Okay. Land off the top for Rubio. He kind of shows Huey and then plays it. Never didn't have it. Diagraph Colossus is an interesting card. Didn't do anything when he cast it, but it has an additional ability. Whenever you cast a zombie spell, you get a 2/2 black zombie creature token tapped on the battlefield. So if Jensen can back it up with another, even just one zombie, the thing can generate a lot of value. Unfortunately, Jensen's deck isn't really streamlined enough to punish, to really abuse a card like that, but
right.
He can get random value from it. Sanguinary Mage Go from Rubio. Ravenous Bloodseeker for Jensen, and it looks like we've hit a little bit of a stall here. Neither player able to attack. I will say that Jensen's definitely playing the scariest deck. He's got a skeleton, a zombie, and a vampire, so he's just got a horror story coming together here on his side of the battlefield.
All depends on your perspective. If you're a skeleton or a zombie, you're probably afraid of the Unruly Mob.
It's true. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'm scared of skeletons, zombies, and vampires. So, all right, here's Estancia Masquerade, which actually doesn't look very good here. And he's just going to have to pass a turn back. But that certainly could have an effect on the board down the line that he'll be happier with. I think Huey wanted to draw a 5th land there. He's got a Gatstaff Arsonist in his hand.
A lot of what's going on in this game is that Unruly Mob is just, that's not the 2-drop you want your white-red aggressive deck to play.
No. I mean, look at it. It hasn't attacked a single time. It's not a good blocker, and it's not even that good with Estancia Masquerade. So, you do what you got to do. Oh, and here's a big attack from Jensen.
I mean, Unruly Mob, I'm not saying it's bad to have it in your deck. It's just, it's not what you want to be doing on turn 2. You want to be building out your board, dropping it toward the end right before the big combat where things are going to start colliding.
Speaking of collisions, Jensen's getting in the red zone. No blocks.
Wow.
Take 4. And Huey's just going to pass the turn back. This is a little bit scary for Francisco. I think what Huey's doing is baiting Francisco into making an attack here. And I think he wants to use his Ravenous Bloodseeker to madness in a Geese's Bidding or a Twins of Mauer Estate or something along those lines. I think that Huey might think that Francisco is going to go for it.
Hasty Wolf first.
Okay. Ember Eye Wolf. And sure enough, Francisco goes right in there. No red mana available here either. And there it is. Geese's bidding from Jensen. This is going to be a big blowout for him here, as he's going to be able to trade with the Wolf and eat the mob.
Pretty good.
Wow. Well, that worked perfectly for Huey. I mean, he orchestrated that whole thing. And in fact, no red mana to pump the Wolf either, so he gets to eat both. Wow.
So a 2 for 0.
2 for 0. Ouch. That could easily be the match right there.
Agreed.
And again, Huey set that up. Make no mistake. He attacked
totally
with all of his creatures to try to get Francisco to do that. He's just going to pump it. He's discarding Macabre Waltz, but he's getting in there for a bunch of extra damage. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Drop you down to 4, Francisco. And really punish Francisco, again, for making the attack, but also for having the Estancia Masquerade, which just does nothing now.
Yeah.
Right? That was 3 mana and a card out of his hand that he just is effectively ripped up. And that's just really tough to recover from in Limited. Huey bearing down now on Francisco, and things are not looking good. But he's got plays. What do you have? Gaia Reach Bandit. Not a very good blocker, only 2 toughness on it.
Rubio's just dead to the Alpha Strike, right?
He certainly is. As long as Huey's willing to discard a single card.
It looks like Rubio forgot to trigger the Masquerade, saying his vampire should have an extra counter on it.
I don't remember it hitting with the Masquerade out, but I may be wrong.
I think last turn he attacked with everything. Huey 2 for 0'd him.
And one vampire got through?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. He did. He should have a +1/+1 counter on the Sanguinary
Doesn't
Mage.
seem to actually affect anything.
I agree. Especially with a Throttle joining the team here. And that's going to do it. Francisco Rubio extends the hand, and William Huey Jensen moves to 12-1. Now just 1 match away from the top 8.
Yep. He should have he's got pretty good tiebreakers being on pod 1, so pretty much 2 win-and-ins.
All right, that's going to do it for round 13 here from Barcelona.